Medicine podcast with Marie Hopkinson. That's myself. I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner. I've been in practice for over 10 years. And it's my pleasure to bring this podcast to you because I find that many of my patients like to help themselves with Chinese medicine. I spend a lot of my time with my patients explaining different things of Chinese medicine to them. And I thought it would be great to put the podcast out there so that people can find for themselves ways that Chinese medicine can help them, or for patients that may have missed some of the information, they want to go back and learn some more or find some other ways they can help themselves. There's lots of things about Chinese medicine that you can do for yourself at home. You don't have to be an expert at it. You just need a little bit of expert information, which I'll bring to you, and then you can apply that for yourself and you can see the benefits of Chinese medicine in your own life. So, firstly, I thought I would explain Chinese medicine to people so they can get an understanding of what it can do and also what this podcast is going to be about. So firstly, there's 5 branches of Chinese medicine. When you see a practitioner, they may be an acupuncturist or a herbalist or both of those things, but there's actually 5 different areas of Chinese medicine that can offer to people. Firstly is acupuncture. Now that's probably the most popular and the most commonly known method of using Chinese medicine. All these methods come back to the same diagnosis. So when you see a practitioner, their main focus is going to be to make a diagnosis, to get that right. So that would separate out the difference between acupuncture and things like dry needling or acupuncture that you may have with a non-TCM based practitioner, so someone like a chiropractor or a physio or even a GP wouldn't really be focusing on making a Chinese medicine diagnosis. That would influence what kind of points they would use and what kind of treatments they may add in as part of the therapy. So when I see patients for acupuncture, I usually try to give them some diet advice or some other things as part of my overall treatment and my services to them. So with acupuncture, there's different ways of doing the needling. Usually we use sterile single-use needles, which would be going into the acupuncture points to create a sensation. So once that sensation is created, you'll be feeling the qi or the energy in those points, and that would start to have an effect in your body. So that depending on what you're treating, it can be things like treating pain, things digestive problems. Sometimes points are chosen because of their function. That is what they do. So they may clear heat from the body. They may tonify the spleen energy or tonify particular energy. They may do things like treat pain because of their local action. So that's the other way we might use points. Like if you had a shoulder pain, we may use points on the shoulder itself because those points are going to get more energy and blood flow to that area. So there's lots of different ways that acupuncture can be practiced. Within acupuncture, there's things like cupping, moxibustion, and sometimes external use herbs are used in combination with acupuncture together. So we'll cover those things in the podcast later on so you can understand what those things are. But let's move on to the second area of Chinese medicine, which is Chinese herbal medicine. Chinese herbs are probably the most complex and the thing that you need to study the most out of all of Chinese medicine to get that right. There's lots of different ways that Chinese herbs can be practiced. So there firstly is the boiling up or the raw herbs. Those herbs are usually dried, sticks, leaves, seeds, parts of the roots of the plant or parts of the berries or the fruit of the plants. Those can all be herbs. And there's also things like minerals can be herbs, foods can be used as herbs, things like parts of animals can be used as herbs. So just a little side bit on the animals thing. It's really only around 10% of the herbs that are probably based in an animal part or something like that. We do not use endangered species. Let's be very clear about that in Chinese medicine. In Australia, there's very strict guidelines, and most practitioners wouldn't even be able to get the endangered species, let alone be able to use them. So there's strict penalties against using those things. So if you see a practitioner in Australia, you can be rest assured if they're a registered practitioner, they won't be using any endangered species, especially not legally. Now in China, some people do use endangered species, but it's actually illegal there too. And when they do use herbs that are plant or animal based that are taking from populations which are endangered or populations which are threatened, they're growing them specifically for Chinese herbs use. So for instance, turtles are used in Chinese medicine, and they would grow those turtles just to use for Chinese herbs. So you can be rest assured if you're using Chinese medicine, you can even ask your practitioner if you don't want to have any animal-based herbs in there, that you can just use the plant-based ones. So there's lots of different ways the Chinese herbs can be prepared once they've been picked and been grown and picked and then dried. So they can be used in that traditional boiling up way, which is where you would receive a package of herbs and you'd need to boil them up and then drink the liquid. Now, some people don't like to do that, and there's a growing number of people in China who don't like to do that either. It's becoming very popular in the hospitals now for people to use a form of herbs called Granule Herbs. And that's what I use in my practice because they're convenient, they're easy for people to use, and they're very potent, and they allow the practitioner to make up the herbs individually as well, which is really important because with Chinese medicine, it's not designed that one formula should treat all kinds of people or all kinds of patterns of disharmony. There may be some patients that might need some herbs of that formula taken out, some herbs added in, or sometimes even just the dosages might be tweaked a little bit, depending. And as your condition changes, the practitioner may also change your formula to address the changing nature of your body. So Chinese medicine is very specific to the individual person, and it's not based on one formula for all kinds of diseases or one formula for all kinds of patterns of disharmony. There's lots of different variations of things. So you want to see a practitioner that is allowed or able to do that, and they have the skill to be able to do that. So that's really important in choosing a herbalist and choosing Chinese medicine that's going to work for you. So with the granule herbs, they're basically like the boiling up ones. They're all individually boiled, freeze-dried, and they even use a machine which captures the steam off the top of the herbs and sprays that back on at the end so that you're receiving all the goodness of the herbs in there in an easy-to-take form. Now, they do taste quite strong. The taste of the herbs is part of the medicinal package of the herbs. Can't really get away from that. So, but instead of drinking a whole cup of liquid, you're only drinking really a small amount of liquid, which you would make up like a small tea, like a short black, basically get that down there, or you can pop the granules straight into your mouth and then just wash it down with water. Either way will usually work. Your practitioner will give you exactly the right instructions on how to take your herbs, and you should definitely follow their instructions because that's what they're trying to do, is to administer and dispense the herbs in a professional and proper way. So everyone's different, and you may have specific instructions on how to do your herbs, so you should follow those instructions. This is just a general advice for people so that they can understand the general nature of Chinese medicine. Now, with the herbs, there's also external use herbs. So those granules or those boiling up herbs can be crushed, or they can be mixed down into a poultice. They can be boiled up into a liniment, and those things can be placed on the skin externally for things like injuries or bruises, or for treating joint pain and things like that. There's also herbs that are made into a general sort of liquid form, like a tincture kind of based herbs, and pills and powders. So those pills or things that are called patent medicine. That means the practitioners or the people dispensing them can't manipulate or change the formula at all. It's just a standard formula that's made into a pill or a powder form. And those things can be useful for some conditions, and certainly they're quite popular in China. A lot of people know about Chinese medicine. You can just go into a pharmacy there and purchase lots of different kinds of herbs in those forms. So that's a little bit about Chinese herbal medicine. And the next area is Chinese massage, or tuina. So tuina is what it's called in China. It means to push and grab. So it's just basically in Chinese medicine with external therapies, such as like in Western medicine, we would have things like chiropractic or physio, osteopathic, all these different kinds of modalities. In China, they actually don't have those modalities. They have acupuncture, Chinese medicine, and tuina, and Western medicine. So that's all you can basically choose from. So what a tuina practitioner would do in China would basically encompass lots of different things that maybe a physio or an osteopath or a chiropractor would treat in the West. So they would treat things like injuries and pains, aches and pains, but right through to things like digestive problems. There's a specific kind of tuina called baby tuina, which is just for children, like a special kind of baby massage. So there's lots of different things that tuina can do that you may not even see in Australia, because the way that it's practiced here is sometimes different. You may see tuina in shopping centres now, where there's lots of these Chinese massage centres. So the basic difference between tuina and Western remedial massage is really that it's through the clothes, and it's using a sheet or some sort of buffer zone between the skin and the person. So basically, if you have a look at my hand, I'll just give you a quick demonstration there of the rolling. So you can see my hand basically rolling on the skin. Now, if I continue to do that over a long period of time, it's going to become very red and it's probably going to become painful. So what we would do is it would usually be through a sheet or through the clothes. So that will create a little bit of a buffer zone there, and the friction can be a lot stronger. So Twainer can use these kind of techniques. It can use things like your thumbs, or you can use your elbows to press. There can be pressing motions with Twainer. So it's quite a relaxing massage, but overall the actual speed of the massage is quite vigorous. Many patients who come and try Twainer for the first time, they wouldn't expect it to be quite as relaxing as it is. When you visually see it, it's different to when you receive it. So if you haven't tried Twainer, I would encourage you to have a try of it. Now, it should never be painful beyond your pain capacity. A lot of Chinese actually like pain. They like the sensation of a very firm or painful kind of massage. Western people don't like that. It doesn't mean that the massage isn't doing you any good. It shouldn't be hurting you beyond your pain threshold. So if it's hurting you, let the practitioner know, and they can just go a little bit softer and it'll still be doing you some good. So that's your first three areas of Chinese medicine. Now, another area that's a popular area is your Chinese exercise therapy. So this is things like Qigong, where a practitioner may give you some exercises, or you may go to a class and learn how to do those things. And this is becoming more on the preventative side and more on the side of people being able to help themselves with Chinese medicine. So Qigong and Tai Chi, even exercise things where you don't have to be like a Kung Fu master or an expert of Qigong to be able to do things that would help yourself. So there's some simple exercises and things that you can do which are kind of like a bit of acupressure and a little bit of Qigong mixed together, and those things can help people just improve their health. We'll go through some of those things in the later episodes of this podcast. Our final area, and the one I'm going to focus the most on in the podcast, is the diet therapy of Chinese medicine. So things like using foods as medicine, using herbs that are food-grade herbs, and using those, incorporating them into your cooking or into things that you would eat on a daily basis to kind of help you. Maybe even just knowing what foods do, knowing that there can be foods that can heal you, foods that can treat certain patterns of disharmony and things that can help you. So usually with diet therapy, it's not really its main purpose isn't really to treat things from a primary perspective. So if you've got a serious health problem, you've got something wrong or something that's concerning you, the best thing to do is to see a practitioner, and they can prescribe a regime of treatment for you, and they can give you some diet things and some stuff that will help you. Now, I know a lot of practitioners are busy, and sometimes they don't make time to be able to give people diet therapy. So sometimes you need to ask them for that, or you can come onto my podcast and have a look and find some stuff for yourself. So if you know what the pattern of disharmony is, and you've asked your practitioner what that is, then sometimes you can even just do a Google search and try to find the foods and the diet stuff that can help you, because there's lots of things out there now with the internet that you can get for yourself to help you. But the first place is to really know what the diagnosis is in Chinese medicine. We're going to go a little bit more into explaining what that all means and how you can find that stuff out for yourself in later episodes. So with the food therapy, there can be foods that are herbs, and they can be food-grade herbs, or they can be medicinal grade herbs, the exact same herbs. So they're just like when you grow tea, and they pick tea from on the mountain, from the highest part of the mountain. That's the best grade of the tea, and that will be the most expensive. And it's the same with the herbs. They'll grow herbs, and the best batches of the herbs will be selected for medicinal purposes, and then the other herbs, which is the same plant but they're just a different grade, will be packaged up and they can be used for food grade herbs. Now, a lot of Chinese will use these in their soups, in their stews, in their cooking, for preventing colds or flus, or for, say, for instance, after a woman gives birth. There's a lot of common food things that Chinese will just do because they know it's culture to them. And so I'm bringing you this podcast so it can become culture for you, and it can be easy, because it's actually quite easy to integrate those things into your life. So I hope that you've enjoyed this introduction to the Chinese Medicine podcast. And if you have suggestions of things that we can cover, topics that we can cover, you can leave a comment on my YouTube channel. And you can also go to my website, which is www.metrohealth.com.au. I'm the practitioner the principal practitioner there, and we have a range of practitioners that can treat you with Chinese medicine and massage therapy, and you can also leave a comment on. You can contact me by email, or you can leave a comment on the